Steve Alcorn's a fine investigator.
Oh, fuck off!
This is the Fortean Slip with your host, Chris York.
I don't need porn, Chris. I have a good woman.
Listen, I have a good woman. I still watch porn.
Co-host, Steve Alcorn.
You are the top shit in Bigfootery if you get the invitation.
Oh, are you?
I've gotten the invitation 2 years in a row now, Chris.
Wow, not me.
And sometimes special guest, Matt Knapp.
It's part of growing older, you know? Maturing. Makes me more dignified and stuff.
Okay, George Washington.
I opted for the...
Is that what meth addicts say? They make me more dignified.
Taking on all things strange since 2013.
Wait a minute.
I don't know what the hell...
Are you saying that he's pregnant?
Possibly.
Was he implanted by one of these teenage aliens?
Did it happen to Arnold?
This device, which comes as part of Nintendo's Quality of Life initiative, is
going to have kids running around banging their heads off bricks.
Yeah.
You're about to witness the strength of creep knowledge.
Good evening, and welcome to the Fortean Slip, full of technical difficulties, problems, reboots, restarts. Nobody's eating a fucking pot brownie this week. This might be a clusterfuck. You might be able to hear me. You might not. We're not sure.
I can hear you. That's all that counts.
This is episode 96 of the Fortean Slip. It's a UFO, Steve! episode.
I like that title better than the other one. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. This week we will look at the Aurora UFO incident. Not really anything poignant or relative to anything going on. It's an old story.
Breaking fucking news.
But one we've never really discussed in depth. For the record, I have finally been able to break my obsession with watching Ancient Aliens late at night. It's a fucking deja vu. Feels like I've said this once before.
It might be Ancient Aliens.
It could be.
Chris does it so much better.
I was doing my own independent original voice, Steve. I wasn't imitating it.
Matt was actually walking through the stones at Karnak while he was saying that.
I was.
Matt is live on location apparently today.
Live from Stonehenge.
He's at the wrong location because we're talking about Aurora and he's at Stonehenge, but whatever. It all works.
It all fucking comes out in the wash.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of fans in Britain.
They do.
So
I'm on tour.
Matt's just making the rounds.
The Fortean Slip Reach Out Tour.
The Fortean Slip Reach Around Tour?
The Fortean Slip...
Nowhere near Paris.
The Fortean Slip Foreign Exchange Student Tour.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, I broke my obsession with Ancient Aliens. I was able to get away from that somehow. I don't know how exactly it happened. It just happened. Because it was every night. I'd go to bed and just pop on another episode that I'd seen.
We don't want to hear about your sick fucking fetish.
Your wife must have been fucking thrilled.
Oh, just you can't imagine how ecstatic she was. I don't know what happens to me with that shit. I get into these ruts and I can't get out. When it comes to doing shit like that, I don't. And now it's fucking Criminal Minds, so it's all fucking serial killers all the time.
That's like my TV viewing.
That's fucking. It's
wives with
all
knives and
fucking.
shit like
It's
that.
all fucking guys, abducting people and slicing them up, and crazy women, and that's what my nighttime viewing pleasure is full of now. So
Do you want to know what I watch every day, Chris? Every single day?
I'm pretty sure it's illegal in
it's
every state, and you have to buy copies of it on the black market. I'm sure Nicolas Cage starred in a movie about one of these films.
No, it's not one of those. That's every other day.
I can see you and your son being like fucking Nicolas Cage and Joaquin Phoenix.
I watch Project Runway every day. But I balance it.
What is it that you say, Chris? Sit in it for a while?
Yeah, I didn't even want to fucking say it. I was so hoping I had a cricket sound effect somewhere.
But to balance that out, I watch American Horror Story. We're catching up on old seasons of that
Balance
show.
it out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah,
I guess
that really,
Project Runway is a fucking American Horror Story, but whatever. So, anyway, go on.
You just like took all the wind out of the sails of everything.
Does that come on before or after Housewives of Atlanta?
Yeah.
I don't watch that shit. That's crap.
Do you watch The Young and the Restless?
I used to watch Days of Our Lives a lot. I really like that show.
Were you a big fan of Knots Landing?
What about Dallas?
Dallas I watched when I was younger, yes.
Were you all in with the JR getting shot?
Yeah, I don't remember much, but I remember he got shot.
I was like
Those were
fucking
Steve's drinking
dude. I was
years.
fucking. You're a little older than me. I was like 6,
Yeah,
and I remember it.
I didn't watch it, religiously. Wasn't it on like Friday nights or something?
Now, see, I couldn't tell you that shit.
No, well, here's the thing. My TV viewing on Friday nights was like The A-Team, Dukes of Hazzard. I forget what else was on. The Incredible Hulk, wasn't that on? I think at that time. All those kind of shows, Oh, Knight Rider. That was my TV viewing. And then Dallas was like an
Michael
no,
Knight.
is it like
That was the best.
Still get excited
Who didn't
whenever I hear the
who
theme
didn't
music.
love that fucking show? And if I turned it on right now, I'd have the biggest douche chills about who I was and the fact that I watched that show.
Didn't you tell me that David Hasselhoff recently changed his name, Chris?
He's fucking David Hoff. That's all that matters right now, people.
He's trying to compete with Bruce Jenner, but he's not quite as ballsy.
Yeah. He doesn't want to go the full Monty.
He doesn't have to hassle with his. He doesn't have to hassle with his name anymore. Yes, I went there, Chris.
Yeah, so I did about 12 news articles.
Well, see,
Thanks,
I didn't
Steve.
read those 12
Thanks,
articles.
Steve. No, thank you, Steve. Thanks. That smells what you just did. It fucking reeks. I live in a different state and I can smell it. How bad that fucking bombed.
So we went to the grocery store earlier this evening, and while we were there, this doesn't tie into anything, by the way.
Yeah.
While we were there, they have like a really nice like salad bar area where you can like make yourself a salad and pay by the pound or whatever. And so I thought, let's get some salads for dinner while we're here. So we go over there, and like there's these people. These two women side by side, and they're on the salad bar, and there's literally like 2 or 3 other people already standing there like waiting for them to get the fuck out of the way. And I noticed that they're like getting like one of every single possible item that you can get on the salad bar. And I'm just like, these fucking bitches act like they've never seen a fucking salad before. And at that point, I noticed that they heard me.
Wait a minute.
And
I
they're
wasn't
like-
talking in my head?
Yeah. And like, not only have they like stopped what they're fucking doing and they're both just staring at me, but so are the other people that are waiting on them to finish. So then I had to like casually just like walk around the fucking deli area acting like I wasn't waiting on them. Yeah.
No, that did have no bearing on anything, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
Yes, much worse.
Well, since we're, I guess, clusterfucking the open of this show, we've already done it. I'm pretty sure like 3 or 4 times already. And in some dimensions, we might have done it more. Why don't we do the weekly rant from our knighted friend who hunts with ferrets, has a tiger as a friend, and regularly speaks to birds of prey, Sir Richard Allen. I'm not sure exactly what we get this week. All I can tell you guys is that it's labeled Bigfoot Community.
Ooh, good stuff.
So this week's rant from Sir Richard.
So today I thought I'd discuss the Bigfoot community and my place in it, for no other reason than I caught some heat for my there's no Bigfoot in England rant last week, which I felt was common sense, but apparently other people disagree. I don't know, I'm not feeling well disposed towards people at the moment. The community, as we all know, is a series of tribes squabbling amongst themselves over an animal that may or may not exist. And I fucking love it. As I've said from day one, I'm nothing but a low-down, dirty troll, and this isn't just a Bigfoot thing, this is everything. It stretches back to my time in the gaming community when me and my partner in crime, Epic Midget, waged a two-man war against the video games, from older titles like Warcraft and Guild Wars to more recent MMOs such as the Old Republic and Guild Wars 2. We incurred several bans, several character deletions, and in the case of the Old Republic, we were actually banned permanently from the game after we tricked the entire server of helping us kill the Belsavis world boss to get the purple crystal schematics. Lol. Sorry, I shouldn't say lol, but
My son does that, and I want to punch
when
him.
they joined the pub group, we had it set to Master Looter. Nina. But I digress. As a troll, I find the current state of the community to be quite hilarious. I'm not smart enough to be an investigator like Steve, have the patience to write thoughtful blogs like Matt, or the work ethic to build a group like Chris does. For the most part, I've been pretty laid back and benign.
It's got 140-something people in it.
Struck targets of opportunity, made up nicknames for the more idiotic, quote, researchers, end quote, such as the Stuttering Stallion for Kelly Shaw, the Yogurt for Waterman, and of course, Grandmaster Cunt for Johnson. The cunt. This is pretty lightweight trolling, as I'm still finding my feet, but I've got to tell you, it's been pretty fun so far. Been a few cock-ups on my part where I've been given information that's proven to be false, and when I've waited too long to get involved in something, I should have been in from the start. An example of this would be Jeffrey Kelly. Now, I trolled him not because I would get any satisfaction from it, but because due to PMs from both tribes, I felt like I had to pick a side. I'm sure people will argue that this was not the case, but it's how I felt and therefore valid. So I posted something in a group he was deliberately to piss him off and make it clear whose tribe I was in. I'm the self-professed fucking Fortean Slip deranged superfan, for fuck's sakes. What the hell did anyone expect? Number one, fan since Jim Payne left us. Solitaire play, motherfucker. So anyway, that's my position. I once kindled a sadly deluded fire that perhaps my blog and others would convince some of these asswipes followers into seeking help and moving away from the nutters. But after reading up on sociology, speaking with my therapist and considering the wider view, and now I realise I was being uncharacteristically optimistic. People are in their respective tribes for a reason. Each of us believes our leaders are right, our leaders believe they are right, and none of us are likely to change our worldview anytime soon. So now I just called Johnson a cunt repeatedly because it's fun. Kelly Shaw and Waterman less so. Shaw is an idiot, and I feel very bad for picking on the intellectually challenged, while Waterman is obviously insane, and therefore I feel a sort of kinship with him. Suffering from paranoid delusions and shit myself, I feel his pain, and can only hope he gets the help he needs. I was talking to Phil Pulling about Johnson the other week, and Phil said he's just a cunt, and that's Phil. Don't believe him? Just ask Johnson's BFF Merchant.
Phil Pulling is a genius, an intellectual genius.
Thanks, Merchant. And finally, I got some hate from the assholes who believe Bigfoot exists in the United Kingdom. My favourite piece of hate mail was undoubtedly, Richard, you are a closed-minded lost soul who could never hope to even hear a Bigfoot. You must focus your energies and let peace and Bigfoot fill your mind completely. Then, and only then, could you hope to see it with your own eyes. My group has only over 20 people in it, and we are about peace, love, and helping our forest friends. Well, thanks for that. All I'm going to say is I've no doubt your group is about peace and love. If you put 20 kids with Down syndrome in the same room, there's going to be a lot of hugging. So peace, love, and Johnson's a cunt. Take that with a pinch of salt.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, Richard.
And that will be our end of our weekly segments with Miss Allen.
That's just so wrong.
Jesus, I was fucking... Yeah, if you put 20 kids with Down syndrome in a fucking room together, you got a rugby team. What? The fuck are you talking about, Richard? Holy shit.
Oh my God.
That rant should be called Richard Allen Pisses Off Everyone.
Holy fuck.
Like, did he kill Jim Payne to take over as the number one?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he traveled to the United States, killed Jim Payne, went back.
I still
Jim Payne like floating fucking belly down in a swamp somewhere.
I'm beginning to wonder. Holy shit. Like I very shortly preview these fucking things when he sends them to me, just to make sure that the audio works now. I don't fucking
just listen to the end.
I don't listen through them. Oh my God, that one caught me off guard. Holy shit. Whew.
Please, no messages about how we're condoning people picking on mentally, retarded folks. Please, none.
No, listen, they got super strength, Steve. I think they're great people.
Two sons with issues. Let's just say that, and so, but I never get offended by that kind of stuff, so it's all cool. But so if anybody thinks, hey, we're condoning this shit, we're not. It's just fun. It's all in fun.
Now that we've had that PSA,
I'm just saying.
Listen, I'm not going to sit there and fucking make fun of Steve's kid. Or fucking, make fun of somebody, like something that's right in front of you. But this show has always fucking been about, anything's fair fucking game.
And just for the record, if you put 20 kids with Down syndrome in a room together, you get the Red Wedding off fucking Game of Thrones.
You possibly could. It's in the cards. That was kind of rough, though.
Yeah.
What?
Just, the Red Wedding.
Yeah.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
So of course you fucking don't. Listen, I never even made it that far in the show, and I know what he's talking about. Well, I read the book, so.
Love and brutality is what I'm saying.
Love and brutality.
I've got a cousin with Down syndrome. I love him to death. He loves me to death. He's held me hostage in a fucking room before. It's no big deal.
What do they call that when you fall in love with your captor? I forget what the name of that is, but it sounds like
Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, that's it. Stockholm Syndrome.
Jesus.
Matt's got Stockholm Syndrome.
All right, on to the fucking topic of the evening, now that we've gone down that road.
Yes.
The Aurora,
UFOs in Texas.
the Aurora UFO crash. Now,
My favorite.
Yeah, Steve, one of Steve's favorites, along with Cash Landerman and all his other bullshit, that is also his favorite. I got introduced to this because of my obsession with Ancient Aliens, because I had seen quite a bit of the Ancient Aliens show, but I had never caught the Wild West one, the one where they had to show like clips of cowboys versus aliens, that horrid piece of shit that somehow got made.
Cinematic masterpiece.
Yes, that something that James Bond takes on aliens movie that I'm pretty sure Jon Favreau was attached to that somehow. He directed it. Yeah, so I had seen this Ancient Aliens episode, and I'd never heard about this crash. Because I've heard about a lot of shit in that I've go into
Because you
this.
weren't alive in the 1800s?
Well, no, I mean just because I go through a lot of these stories and I've watched a lot of these TV shows, and I just missed this one along the way, and I was pretty fascinated with it. And I think I'd brought it up to I know I brought it up to Steve at least, but I think I've brought it up on air that I wanted to go over it. Because it is an incident that occurred in the 1800s. And this is at a time where there were no airplanes, that we didn't have crafts, crisscrossing the sky.
Well, we did, but
not like
not
this.
anything like that. Well, we had this was a cigar-shaped craft, and there was a French guy who had built a cigar-shaped craft that was powered with steam, and it flew, but it wasn't anywhere near Texas. So, and of course, you had our hot air balloons and shit like that, but nothing. 6 years. This happened, what, 6 years before the airplane was invented, so it wasn't related to that.
Yeah. So, and I've got the original newspaper article up, so I'm going to read that. And a lot of this information, well, all the information that I got's from the fucking wiki. If anybody has a problem with it, fuck off. Because I don't give a shit. As we've said before, for the most part, a lot of your stuff on wiki's pretty sad.
From what I read off the Wikipedia article, it was pretty
It was pretty on point. So, and this is the actual article anyway. So, for Aurora Wise Co. I'm gonna say county, Texas, and April is split into two parts. That's interesting. April, 17th. About 6 o'clock this morning, the early risers of Aurora were astonished at the sudden appearance of the airship, which has been sailing through the country. Now, as a side note, Matt brought this up before the show, that this thing had been around beforehand. So, I don't know.
There was a whole wave. There was a whole wave between 1896 and 1897 of this type of craft floating in the air. So all the way from California, all the way to Indiana, Illinois, that kind of place.
Okay.
I think even all the way to New York City.
Okay. So. All right. Back to the story. It was traveling due north and much nearer the Earth than ever before. Evidently, some of the machinery was out of order, for it was making a speed of only 10 or 12 miles an hour and gradually settling toward the Earth. It sailed directly over the public square, and when it reached the north part of town, collided with the tower of Judge Proctor's windmill, and went to pieces with a terrific explosion, scattering debris over several acres of ground, wrecking the windmill and water tank, and destroying the judge's flower garden. That poor flower garden.
That is a key point to the story right there.
That flower garden, it was important. The pilot of the ship is supposed to have been the only one on board, and while his remains are badly disfigured, enough of the original has been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world. Mr. T.J. Weems, the United States Signal Service officer at this place and an authority on astronomy, gives it as his opinion that he was a native of the planet Mars.
What an authority that was.
Yeah. Papers found on his person. He had papers. Give us your papers. Evidently, the record of his travels are written in some unknown hieroglyphics and cannot be deciphered. It's gotta be ancient aliens. The ship was too badly wrecked to form any conclusion as to its construction or motive power. It was built of an unknown metal resembling somewhat a mixture of aluminum and silver, and it must have weighed several tons. The town is full of people today who are viewing the wreck and gathering specimens of the strange metal from the debris. The pilot's funeral will take place at noon tomorrow. S.E. Hayden. And that is the full article that was written.
Late 1800s. Several tons of debris, and it all vanished.
Well, they cleaned it up, Matt.
Well, right, but where do you put several tons of debris in the late 1800s?
I don't know. Maybe they melted it back down to make other shit. Aluminum was very, it was like gold back then because...
You've been drinking out of the cans for years, Matt.
That's right. No, aluminum was, very expensive back then because they hadn't gotten the manufacturing process down to a T yet, and it was very hard to make and very expensive. And a lot of the debris they said it looked like aluminum, so you have to assume it was. I don't know.
And then there was also the story of Mr. Brawley Oates, which is, I guess, in some way related to this whole crash. In that some of the debris or the wreckage from the crash site ended up in his well.
Brawley Oates bought the property, the Judge Proctor's property. So the well was on Proctor's property.
Proctor.
And then he developed this extreme case of arthritis where his hands were fucked up. I mean, I've seen pictures of this guy's hands, and they're like he looks like his hands look like the Elephant Man. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, his son appeared on an episode of UFO Hunters and said, it wasn't from the well. It wasn't. They said it was from drinking the water out of the well. His son said, I drank water out of that well too, and I'm fine. So
it wasn't that. That was just all made up shit to go, it's gotta be.
The disease was real. Whatever he had was real, but it was more, I think he said rheumatism and arthritis and some other things that just all combined to make it look really bad.
No, Steve, he touched the metal, much like the dude in the Tommyknockers.
But, Brawley Oates was, in fact, the owner of the property where the alleged UFO crashed. So, of course, if there's anything that goes on like that, some people will make a connection. So
correlation does equal causation?
It could, I suppose.
Oh, okay. But anyway, I wanted to bring up that story because on Ancient Aliens, they try to make that stretch.
But see, it's been known. The UFO Hunters episode aired in 2005, I believe. So it's been known since at least then that Brawley Oates' problems weren't caused by the water in that well. So,
and then there's the hoax theory about this whole thing.
What?
There's a hoax
theory?
There's a hoax theory.
I don't know.
And I guess that this was brought up by a former mayor and did some research that I guess this town was fucked at this time. Like the town was going to shit. And
that's true.
That this whole story was just a way to garner buzz, to bring in people to, revitalize the town, I guess.
And see, I can certainly agree that it's probably a hoax, but that theory supporting a hoax sounds like bullshit.
I'll tell you why I think it's bullshit. The article if they were trying to garner tourism or whatever they were trying to do, or get people to be attracted to the town, the article didn't appear on the front fucking page of the paper. It was way back on page 5, and there was like 15 other stories that were almost identical to it. So there was other airship stories in that section of the paper. So it had nothing, I don't think they were trying to garner that much publicity with that story. It may have just been a joke, but it wasn't for tourism or anything like that, or to get people to the town. I doubt. So that theory is kind of shot to hell, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know so much about the hoax theory, but as we've said before, people have been full of bullshit for years and for centuries.
Right.
And to think that people wouldn't pull one over on other people just because it happened hundreds or thousands of years ago is, it's being naive. You're really being naive if you think that somebody didn't, that nobody ever told stories.
Well, what I found interesting was some of the details in the actual article talking about, the material that the airship was made out of or whatever as being, a strange metal that's similar to these other metals, but it's different. And, there's a pilot that was critically injured, and he had papers that had strange, hieroglyphics on them or whatever. Nobody thought that maybe that's where they based the whole fucking Roswell thing on, because there's a lot of fucking similarities to Roswell that happened years later.
There are a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of similarities to a lot of UFO cases, though. Rendlesham Forest, they had hieroglyphs on the ship, on the exterior of the ship. So I don't know. Of course, that wasn't a crash, but same thing.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know that they look the same.
I don't know, if what part of the hoax theory works, but obviously it could very well have been. We
Right.
don't
There's other
know.
And they buried the thing in the freaking cemetery. Why didn't somebody just go exhume the grave and find out?
Because the town, whoever is in charge of that sort of thing in that town, won't allow it. They did on the UFO Hunters episode find the probable, I'm not going to say the location, but the probable location of the grave, and there was something buried there. The grave marker disappeared years ago, and it disappeared because they had to actually, in the 70s, like MUFON went out and investigated and tried to find the grave, and they found the headstone and all that bullshit. But it got so bad in that town that they had to put police guard at the cemetery so that the MUFON, or not MUFON, but some crazy UFO investigators wouldn't come and dig the fucking thing up. So, and since that time, the town has just said, no, nobody's digging in our cemetery. So, which makes sense,
I mean, it's definitely, the whole story is definitely an interesting story. It's just, what of it is real, what of it is, contrived. We'll never know. All we can do is just sit and speculate.
I don't know. Well, some of the things turned out to be true. A lot of the original debunkings of this story said that there was no well on the property. Well, they found the well. They had capped it in the 50s because the pipes collapsed and they couldn't use it anymore. But there was a well. And then on the UFO Hunters episode, when they went to go into the well, they uncapped it so they could go down in it. They found the actual windmill stand, because the skeptics had said there was no windmill on the property. Well, there was, because you have to have supports into the ground, and it was around the well, actually. So those things turned out to be true. And the cemetery, there is something where the alleged spaceman is buried. There is a body down there. But now, does that mean the story's true? No. But there are some things that actually correlate to the newspaper article. So,
well, like I said, I don't know what parts of it I can, totally buy into, and what parts, obviously some of the facts are there, some of them aren't, but it's one of those things. It's one of those stories that, it captivates people, and you hear about it and you're like, oh, this happened like well before anything, was really going on in the skies. And, this kind of, it's the holy grail of UFO sightings in a sense because it's, it's recorded in this fashion and, it supposedly crashed and there was a being on board. So it's definitely one of those cooler sighting reports, stories, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And it's Steve's favorite, one of Steve's favorites. He's got about 20 of them. He cycles through which one's his favorite.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites because, it's an older story. Although there were a lot of airship stories going on at that time, most of them weren't Martians. They were, these guys from New York landed and they had a strange person with them. Or one of the airship stories, the funniest one, was Jews. They were all Jews on the airship, and they were looking for they were the lost tribe of whatever, I forget the Bible story, but you know what I mean. And so it was hilarious, some of these airship sighting stories. But this one in particular seemed more probable because there is physical evidence to go along with what the story says.
The story that's there, yeah.
Right, because when they went down in the well, they found high concentrations of aluminum in the water. And then they found some melted aluminum type metal, and they had that tested, and it had a higher concentration of iron than our modern alloys. So who knows?
What were all these airships flying around in the 1800s?
Well, they were UFOs, man. And
they
some
would
of
have
them
had to have been. I mean, the Wright brothers' first flight was in 1903.
Right, and that's why some of these stories now, some of them were, made up bullshit because, okay, this town had an airship sighting, so we're going to have one. We're going to put it in the paper. And that could be all this fucking Aurora story is. It's very possible. But this one seemed to have more credibility only because the physical evidence can be found.
Well, there's some things that can be traced back.
Right. And so Proctor was a real person. He lived in that town. Hayden, the guy who wrote the story, was real. Weems, the signal corps operator, was a real guy, although he wasn't a whatever. They said in the article he was a blacksmith, but whatever. He was they were all real people. So in a lot of these airship stories, the witnesses were real people. The ones that were more bullshitty, you couldn't trace the people down. So,
well, like Chris brought up, the article's wording alludes to this particular airship had been seen previously.
Right. Like I said, between 1896 and 1897, I think they stopped shortly after the Aurora incident. Not very long.
What was it that people were seeing fly around before this incident?
Well, there must have been more than one, is my guess.
Okay, so what was flying around?
I don't know.
Like, we didn't have the technology. So
maybe we did. Maybe they were experimental aircraft. There were people trying to do things like this. But you would think at that time period when there was a race to be the first in flight, basically, you would think that it would be front page news all the time. If
well, you'd also think that at this point, if it was like another country or even if it was us, that someone would have claimed credit for it.
Yeah.
Because at this point, what's it fucking matter? Nobody's going to be like, oh my God, top secret information was leaked. Yeah.
In Texas alone,
something fucking years later.
In Texas alone, in the years 1896 and 97, there were, I believe, over 120 airship sightings all over the state. And they extended all across the country, but Texas had a huge concentration of them. So are all of those stories made up, hoaxes? I don't know. Is it possible? Sure. Maybe one town had it, so every other town wanted it, that kind of thing. So I don't know, but this one just seemed to be the most credible, if any of them are real.
Yeah, I definitely like the story. I don't know how much of it's real.
I think it's totally 100% legit.
Matt's all in.
Think there's an alien from Mars buried in a Texas cemetery.
My guess is that if anything crashed into Judge Proctor's windmill, it was probably man-made, and if it exploded like they say it did, although it was only going like 10 to 12 miles an hour, it could have been a huge impact. But if it exploded like they said it did, and the body was disfigured and shit, it might look like a Martian, to people who didn't know. So that's another theory, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably totally wrong, but still.
Another little factoid. In 1890, there was 372 people in Aurora, Texas.
Right. In the early 1880s and I think even in the early 1890s, it was like a boom town. It was a big cotton town. Well, then it went bust, and that's why people think this is a hoax to get people to come there. And the railroad surpassed them. They were supposed to get a leg of the railroad down there, and they did. The railroad decided not to, so they didn't have any, which was the most modern transportation at that time, to haul your cotton out of there and shit. So
in 1890, their population was 372, and by 1980, it had boomed to 376.
The one article I read said at the biggest, there was over 3,000 people in the town when it was booming, when it was, everything was going right for them. And then after, because they had like bouts of spotted fever or yellow fever and shit like that, right all at the same time. The cotton went down, the yellow fever, the railroad missed them. So all that shit happened right at the same fucking time, according to the mayor's research, And so the town like dwindled to just 300 people. So, and then they had the airship, which was a few years later.
And then it was a fucking UFO, Steve.
Right. Now, Hayden, the guy who wrote the article, and Proctor were both friends. That is a fact. And they were both pranksters. So it's quite possible they got together and made the story up.
Yeah, and that's something that I've said about people that, people far too often dismiss the idea that people can pull one over on a big group of people. Like Proctor actually had his own newspaper at the time. So there is another article written by Proctor that's basically the same thing as what Hayden wrote too, but I don't know where it's at. I haven't seen it, but I read about that today on another website. So there is another article out there. Yeah, and I just think that people can't pull pranks or bullshit or lie. It just you're naive to think that it can't happen.
Right.
Or that it hasn't happened in the past, or that some of these stories are just, contrived bullshit for some other reason. Yeah, I think too often we go to, it's definitely that, and it's got to be because it's this old story, and there's, look at all this stuff that we can corroborate. Yeah, all right, maybe. And I like the stories too.
I'm 50-50 on this one. I mean, could it be true? Yeah, some of the evidence supports the fact that it could be true. But some of the evidence supports the fact that it was a fucking joke. They were just messing with people.
I think possibly the Japanese invented a experimental blimp type device, and the pilot got caught up in air currents in the jet stream and floated around aimlessly over Texas for a while until he crashed into a windmill.
For over a year. Yeah, he must have had a lot of provisions on that fucking...
Yeah, well, of course.
Well, if it was as big as they say it was, he could have had quite a few provisions on there, but...
It's very possible.
It's a theory. That theory kind of works with Roswell, too. A lot of people... Not Roswell, I don't think, but the Corolla? I can't remember the name of the town, but it was at the same time as Roswell. There was aliens that crashed here. The government now says it was crash test dummies or some bullshit like that. But a lot of people think it might have been Japanese pilots, and they just didn't want to tell us because, they didn't want people to know that the fucking Japanese made it to American soil with their aircraft. So it's a theory, I guess.
All good theories. Steve, do you get any news?
I probably do. I don't know. I'll have to check.
Okay.
Play the music. I'll look.
I gave you no time.
No time. Oh, one of my favorite people in the whole entire world. This one's from cryptozoologynews.com. Yes, I know. Ohio. This is out of Ohio, my state. So
Oh, you're really going to do this story.
I'm going to do this story. I'm going to do this story, and you can say whatever you want about it. A man from Ohio says he found a bunch of hair he believes belongs to a bipedal creature he encountered a few years ago. YouTuber
On his bathroom floor.
YouTuber, drum roll please. No drum roll? Okay. Squatch Master, also known as Jeff. And they don't use his last name, but his last name is Jeff Patterson. Not Jeff Patterson.
You know, he's
Jeff
changed
Patterson.
his name.
Has he?
He's no longer going by Squatch Master.
Well, yeah, he is. I just checked out the YouTube video. It said
I know, but he has a different channel.
he's got a bunch of them.
By Squatch Master.
Mr. Paranormal, I think, is one of his channels. He's got a bunch of them.
But he is the true Squatch Master.
Yes, he is the true Squatch Master. Anyway, on Saturday, yesterday, he released an 8-minute video showing an expedition leading to a cave in Ohio where he supposedly found what he called Bigfoot evidence. He did not disclose an exact location. In 2010, I saw something that led me into searching for an unknown creature of the forest, said Jeff. What he's referring to there is a tree shaker video that they had.
Right.
Yeah, the bullshit. The creature, he explains, was about 7 feet tall with a grayish and was grayish white in color. It was reportedly walking upright and moved effortlessly through the trees in complete silence. It showed no fear of me whatsoever because it was the sun. As it barely gave me notice when it
This tree dead?
He adds. Today, Jeff believes he has found a mat of gray hair that belongs to that creature. And I'm assuming he means that particular creature.
That exact one.
That exact
He
one.
tracked it down because he's the Squatch Master.
Jeff shows the mat of hair he says could belong to Bigfoot. The Squatch Master has been chronicling what he believes could be evidence towards the existence of a Sasquatch creature for over 3 years. Now, this is my favorite quote of the whole story. We are in no way saying that they are in fact Sasquatches, only that they are what we believe a Sasquatch to be. Isn't that saying
Yes.
they are Sasquatches? The only true way to judge whether the Bigfoot does exist is to actually go out and experience it for yourself, he says. According to the Ohioan, he will be sending in the hair sample to be tested to obtain a definitive answer, which we will never,
I'm sure he's going to be fully transparent with that.
Listen, this dude is a fucking douchebag. I'm sorry I said it, but he's a douchebag. Yes. I've had my run-ins with the guy. He's just a...
Allegedly.
Listen, he's the same guy who ask Phil or Bill or Bob or whatever we're calling him nowadays.
Fucking
He
Paulie.
uploads. He has at least 2 YouTube channels, probably several more that we're not aware of. So on one he's Mr. Paranormal, and on the other one he's Squatch Master. He uploads the same exact fucking video to both channels. And in one he explains what he's seeing as a ghost, and the other one he explains what he's seeing as a Bigfoot. Come on.
Don't forget the tranquilizer gun that
Yeah,
he's going to
the
take a
fucking-
Bigfoot down with.
Yeah, and Bill or Bob or Joe or Phil or whatever we're calling him, he's the one who, hey, this is a fucking BB gun, and he showed the proof of that. So, yeah, come on.
You mean the guy that thought that a leaf was a Bigfoot?
Yeah, that guy.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of those kinds of guys out there. So anyway, I'm done, with the Squatch Master. We're going to go to Australia now, and a story that has nothing to do with Australia. AustralianNetworks.com. I think that's the name of the... AustralianNetworkNews.com, excuse me. Earlier, why is this in an Australian website when it's about...
You have to read this one in an Australian accent, by the way.
Okay, I'll do my best Australian accent. Ready? Not ready?
Sure.
All
Yeah.
right. Here it is.
Go.
Here it goes. My best Australian accent. Earlier this week, out of this world theory circulated on the...
Wow.
I can't do it. Yeah, I know. Isn't that spot on?
Did you just like summon the ghost of Steve Irwin? My God, man.
Earlier this week, out of this world theory circulated on the web because of an alleged UFO sighting and a baby alien found in California. Which turned out to be
look at the baby alien.
Baby aliens are found in California all the time.
Yes, they are. They're not from, outer space, but they are baby aliens.
They might be deer
now
fetuses.
They may be. Now there has been claims that another UFO was spotted in Houston, Texas. It was even caught on video. According to Cron, Twitter user...
According to Tron?
Cron.
The program?
C-H-R-O-N. Cron.com. Cron.
According to chronic smokers.
I love this guy's Twitter username. His username is @I'm_rad with 2 Ds. Posted a 6-second video clip which showed unexplained white lights. The video was taken while he was on the southbound Interstate 45,
I was
approaching
flipping
downtown
through
Houston.
my monthly copy of High Times when I caught the UFO.
I was on my way to JFK International when I saw these strange lights right above the road.
The Twitter users.
I might have dropped a little bit of acid, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't it.
Did you hear a UFO crashed in Aurora, man?
The Twitter user's real name is Devin.
Did you know that
Conrad.
Steve Alcorn heard a Thunderbird once?
Whoa. I'm Rad's real name is Devin Conrad.
It absolutely is. Conrad was with his pal Ronald Charles.
What the fuck?
Conrad said that he was playing with Charles' phone while Charles was driving on the road. After 2 hours, he saw something unusual in one of his videos. He immediately posted it on Twitter with a caption, "Warning Houston residents." He was warning Houston residents. The video was posted and has been retweeted almost 4,000 times. Sounds fun. I haven't looked at that video. Have you seen it yet, Chris?
No.
Yeah, I'm not going to go look at it either. From redditreport.com. This is one for you, Matt. Oklahoma. Lots of UFOs in Oklahoma. Oklahoma City. October proved to be a very busy month when it comes to UFO sightings, according to the Washington State-based National UFO Reporting Center.
You seen any of these, Matt?
No.
Okay.
Are you anywhere near Sallisaw, Matt? Because there was one in Sallisaw.
No, Sallisaw's over towards Arkansas.
Oh, well, of course it is. The first report came on October 3rd when a witness in Sallisaw, which is in Sequoia County, if anybody wanted to know, was traveling on the road north of Sallisaw in a rural area at night when the witness reported seeing a brilliant emerald green object shaped like a disco ball with small mirrors on the sides. At one point, the witness said
That was just a lowrider.
the object shined a light directly at the vehicle the witness was driving. The witness added that a friend saw something similar years ago along Big Sallisaw Creek near McCoy Ford
Friend
Road.
saw something years ago at Studio 51.
The next one was from Broken Arrow.
That is 15 minutes away from here.
Well, here you go. This one's for you. Maybe you can go out and investigate it.
I saw a UFO out by Broken Arrow one time.
Oh, yeah?
I saw the movie Broken Arrow and was very disappointed.
I have no Broken Arrow references. Heading east out of Broken Arrow on East 71st Street with Coweta as their destination, the witness told New Fork that they and another witness saw a black triangle UFO with 3 white lights and one central
That's
red
funny.
light.
I've seen one of those UFOs flying out that direction too.
See?
It's a stealth bomber that they have over here at the airport at Tulsa International.
But this one was hovering near the side of the road, and it was silent, Matt. It went from a dead stop to high speed, and much to their astonishment, the sighting took place at 10:40 p.m. Why that was astonishing, I don't know.
So they saw a black hovering object as they're driving down the road at night.
Yes.
Of course they did.
Bartlesville. 3 days later, on October 12th, a 44-year-old witness and working professional, in quotes, working
professional in Bartlesville. Okay. What street was this on?
Did she say honey a lot?
Along Highway
Sugar.
75, Chris.
Sugar.
Heading south towards Tulsa on Highway 75. That's where it was. They saw.
Was she wearing any panties?
This working girl.
This working professional saw a huge boomerang craft, and it was heading south.
Which is also a black triangle-shaped object.
Owasso, Greene County, was having a lot of sightings in October, as this report confirms. The witness claims a shiny metallic orb, which was viewed for a few seconds in his neighborhood. They said it had a lot of sightings, and they only mentioned this one.
Matt, it seems like
Oklahoma
a lot of people
City.
in your state long for the days of disco.
And it's all happening in the suburbs of Tulsa. That's really weird.
Oklahoma City. On October 17th at 8:12 p.m., the witness reported to New Fork that they saw a triangle again, although they call it an orb-like ship. Was it a triangle?
What the hell?
Anyway, this one had spinning lights.
And just outside of Oklahoma City is Tinker Air Force Base.
Yes, it was in an empty grass field somewhere in the Oklahoma City area. The witness noted it had white fluorescent lights. Langley.
Langley. Now you're talking about where my lake house was at.
There you go. One of the most interesting reports during the month of October was out of Langley, a Mays
Did
County
you leave
town
letters
south
in your
end of
mailbox?
Grand Lake, the Cherokees.
To a person in the past and or future?
No, Chris, I didn't.
The witness writes that every night for a week
I can't
and a
really
half,
talk about a lot of the things I've done in Langley. Kind of like the FBI, you know. Can't talk about Langley. They're from Langley, right? Or is that the CIA?
It could be both.
I don't remember. Isn't there an Air Force base there, or is that a different Langley?
That's an entirely different Langley.
Well, I don't know. I'm not up on my fucking Air Force base.
Langley is a town that has a grocery store. That's it.
Anyway,
And a Sonic.
The witnesses, well, there's a Sonic there, so it's got to be good. The witness, I've never been to Sonic. I want to go sometime, though. The witness said that they were, every night for a week and a half, there were several UFOs. They have red, green, and white flashing lights. Hey, this is like the one I saw. They are in the sky all night and seen best at certain time. The lights are not seen near the Grand Lake Dam. The witness insists that these are not stars by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay.
I think that's all the... wait, there's one more from Oklahoma.
Oh.
The last October UFO report received by New Fork was on October 26th, a sighting of two large flashing red lights being pursued at high altitude by a conventional jet aircraft. The red lights and the jet were heading east, the witness reported.
Fascinating.
Nice, huh? Lots of UFOs in Oklahoma that are probably just, ordinary
Well,
shit.
Langley is in the flight path of another Air Force base that's up in Missouri. And at the lake I mentioned, I used to watch those dreaded black helicopters fly over all the time as they would, move them from Missouri to Tinker or the Air National Guard, which is outside of Owasso.
Was that while you were writing the letters to the woman or reading them?
That was while I was reading them.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, fellas, that's the news.
That's awesome. If anybody would like to watch a movie about Matt's adventures, stars Keanu Reeves, and I'm pretty sure Sandra Bullock.
Speed?
You know what we should have done tonight? You know, we did the story from 1897. I should have just read news from 1897. That would have been great.
This has been episode 96 of the Fortean Slip, the It's a UFO, Steve! episode. If you like this shit, hit the thumbs up button. If you don't, hit the little thumbs down button. Share this shit around. If you're still listening to this fucking thing, you're a fan. Share this shit anywhere, somewhere.
Share it like herpes.
Yeah, that's right. Fucking stick it in her mouth and don't tell her about it. Also, check out bigfootcrossroads.com. Was it Team Crypto something? It might still be there.
No, it's already gone.
No, it's still there. I just didn't have much time this week, but I'm still working on it.
And dredfunn.com.
I got 3 articles now. 3.
Whoa!